Hi guys, this is Zach from Watches on You, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Breitling Superocean Heritage Chronograph B01. So right away I'd like to mention that this watch was provided for the purposes of this review by Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. They are an authorized retailer of all Breitling timepieces. But now let's move into this watch. So this watch uses the in-house Breitling B01 Chronograph movement, and that's what sets this apart from a lot of the other Breitlings. And they do actually make an ETA chronograph. It's a Valjoux movement version of this timepiece where it's oriented at 12, 9, and 6 versus the 3, 6, and 9 orientation for the subdials. So this watch, first of all, I'm going to go over the case of this timepiece. So the watch has a 44mm case, and the finishing is very, very nice. It's all polished. Excuse the sticker here. This is sticker, but the polishing underneath is very, very high quality. There's really no blemishes in it. It's very, very well done. So now I'm going to move on to the bezel, dial, and the movement. So the bezel of this timepiece is ceramic. You don't get any graduations on this. Some of the new Superoceans, those will have numbers on them, so you can really use those for diving. This one is really a bit more of a kind of a dressy everyday sports watch versus a true hardcore dive watch, as that's what the regular Superocean 2 is really made for. So for that reason, you don't get the numbers on the diving bezel, which is just to keep the look a little bit cleaner. Personally, I would prefer the numbers, which the new ones actually do have, but this piece does not itself. So now going on to the dial. The dial is a silver sunray dial with black contrasting black subdials, and that really increases the visibility of this timepiece, as well as I think making this watch pop a lot more. I love the kind of panda styling of this timepiece. I think it looks very nice. You get a running, with regards to the chronograph, you get a running seconds on the left, you get an hour counter for the chronograph at 6, and then on the right at 3 o'clock, you get a minute counter for the chronograph. Now, I've had it running for quite a bit here, so you can see the chronograph is now just, I believe, I can see 11 minutes there, and then you can see that it hasn't met an hour yet, so it's just at 11 minutes. The running seconds, though, is still going. So now I'll actually stop the chronograph, and I'll demonstrate the action. So stop it with this pusher, and you also start it with this pusher, so now it'll go again, and then you reset it with the bottom pusher, and it will fly right back to 12 o'clock. Now, actually, before I move on, one thing I would like to do is I forgot to demonstrate the bezel action. So the bezel still is a 120 click bezel, which is the dive watch standard. It locks down very, very, very well. It's extremely clicky. So honestly, if you get good at reading this without having the numbers, you could use this as a dive watch. I mean, the bezel is definitely up to par with regards to action, very high quality, and I'm sure they use honestly the same action as their regular Superoceans in this piece. So you're getting the same durability of a bezel as well. So sticking with the movement, so the movement also comes with a date clock, but a date o'clock is what I just said. What I meant to say, it comes with a date between 4 and 5 o'clock, and I think that's a pretty minimalist place to put it. It's not as bad as a 3 o'clock date, and obviously you can't have that with a chronograph, but it looks nice and matches kind of the overall look of the watch, I think, quite nicely. You can also see the movement with an exhibition case back right there, so you can see this the watch movement itself is very wonderfully finished. You're getting a nice level of Côte de Genève and perlage, and the overall quality of Breitling's new in-house movements is just very, very nice. Let it focus there. And this is a column wheel chronograph movement, which is generally considered or thought in higher regard than the cam chronographs, which are generally easier to manufacture, cheaper to manufacture, but take a little less effort to put together than a column wheel. So column wheels are generally more well respected, and it's great to see that in a timepiece like this. And that's one thing you're getting over the Valjoux movement. The Valjoux option for this timepiece is going to be a lot cheaper, but you're not getting that high quality movement, which actually is a cam's chronograph movement instead of a column wheel chronograph movement. So now the bracelet on this timepiece is a very, very fine woven Milanese metal bracelet, extremely high quality. It molds to the shape of your wrist very well because there really are no links. It's one piece of weaved metal. There are, however, though, adjustment links at the bottom, but they do blend in with the strap with the bracelet overall very, very nicely, as they put that kind of same texture on them. And there are a couple on this side as well, but as you can see, once you get pretty far away, you really can't tell where the bracelet switches from true Milanese to links, and you can kind of maybe see a little line there, but if you're wearing this, no one would ever notice. The clasp is a high quality solid bar clasp, milled out clasp. You're not getting any pressed metal here, which is good to see. Except one thing I would like to mention about this piece is I think Breitling should update this clasp right here. This is just kind of a pressed metal, and being that this watch is just see here, it's $7,999. Definitely should have a higher main clasp than this right here. So now moving on to the wrist shot. The 44mm size is quite large. It is definitely large. I have around a 7.5-inch wrist, so if you have a small wrist, I think this could be quite too big for you. 44mm is, again, it is a large and chunky watch, but the classic design is very, very nice, and it does step up the kind of classiness of this timepiece and moving away from the big size, which can be a little brash. So this overall, though, it does have still kind of a classic look. Just if you have a very small wrist, I think that this might not be the option, or at least try it on in person before you buy, because it is a large timepiece. So overall, as I said, this watch comes in at a price of $7,099. Now that is a lot of money, but when you take into account the high quality finishing of this timepiece, as well as the in-house column wheel chronograph movement, which you don't get at a lot of too many chronographs, this watch, actually, the value starts to come out. And actually, one thing I didn't mention is it does have a minimum 70-hour power reserve, which is very nice. Rolexes are just starting to get that power reserve level in some of their models with their new movements coming out, but this one has that high power reserve, which is a fantastic thing to see in a timepiece. So overall, at the $7,000 price point, I think this watch still does hold some pretty good value. I would like to see the clasp be a little bit nicer, but you're getting an in-house movement with very high quality finishing, as well as a high quality case and bracelet. So thank you guys for watching this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks.